Yeah? Ron? Okay, everyone. Welcome to, I think it's lesson 39 or 40. Wow. So, L'chaim. L'chaim. Okay, so chapter 10 spoke about the two types of tzaddikim. The tzaddik that has good, that means it's perfectly righteous, he only has good. The tzaddik that has bad, which means he's the incomplete tzaddik. He still has an element of not absolute disgust towards the physical world.
That's Beinoni, right?
That's the tzaddik. Beinoni is chapter 12.
Okay.
In chapter 11, we spoke about the Rasha. There's a higher level of Rasha, the tzaddik v'tovle, the Rasha v'tovle, the Rasha that has good to him. That means, what does it mean, a Rasha? Rasha does not mean like we think about Parei or Haman. A guy is a murderer, a rapist, and everything else. A Rasha is anyone who violates God's command. A Rasha means a violator. It means an evil person. If you violate God's will, that's evil. Rasha is a violator. So if you jaywalk, you're a violator. You're a lawbreaker. That's what you are. I mean, it's not.
If you speed. If you speed when you're driving.
But you're the beginning of your sentence. If
you speed.
If.
Oh, if, okay.
F. When
you speed.
There you go.
Sorry. Thanks for correcting my grammar.
Not everybody does though.
Those people shouldn't drive. So,
so I shouldn't drive then. No, I don't speed either. I don't know. My wife does.
I don't speed ever.
But you can't do
Does she make up for your slow driving at least?
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm not a slow driver. I just don't speed.
It's a balance of the world.
Anyway, so you have the Rasha v'tovle. Rasha v'tovle means that is a guy who so at times, and there's a million different levels here, at times his impulse gets the best of him. And afterwards he feels regret. I mean, we learned last time, a Rasha is a person who's filled with regrets. Because he's not a bad person. We call it, he's actually a good guy. He can't control himself. He's overcome by that urge, whatever it is. Like, sometimes we have one more piece of cake. You shouldn't have that piece of cake, right? You can't help it, right? But afterwards you feel bad. He's a Rasha, because in the end he does violate God's will. But v'tovle he has good. Okay, that's where we spoke about last time. And we said he has to do teshuvah. Teshuvah means you have to distance yourself from the act. You have to regret. You have to stop it. You have to stop sinning. You have to regret what you did, and you have to make a resolution not to do it again. 3 steps. Now, thus far, the Alter Rebbe discussed the high level of Rasha, the Rasha who knows good, in whom when the animal soul really prevails, and even when he prevails, he only prevails in the expression, in thought, speech, and action. Because remember, we're going back to chapter 4. Your thought, speech, and action is an expression of either your godly soul or of your animal soul. So it could be the guy only does it once a day or once a month. But the fact that he never repented. How do you know when a person is truly repentant?
When they face the same situation and choose the better path.
Exactly. So that's the difference between repentance and regret. Regret means you feel bad, but when the opportunity comes, you're going to do it again because you felt regret. But then the feeling of regret is fleeting. Repentance means you don't do it again. Then v'yesh, and then there's another guy. Yesh Misha 166 in the old print, 175 in the new print, 170 in the new print. V'yesh Misha there's another guy who the evil Gever B'Yeser is stronger. Umislabesh boy kol levushi shalara. Because in the last class we learned that the Rasha v'tovle, the Rasha that's good, it could be maybe only sometimes says something bad. Or sometimes only he'll do something bad or think something bad. The other Rasha is a guy that the evil pervades all forms of expression. It makes him do much greater sins. And more heinous sins and more frequently. However, he does more sins more often, but in between he feels bad. And he has the feeling, the thoughts of teshuvah. Why? Because ultimately he has good in him, and that good has the power to find expression. That after every once in a while he feels bad about what he's doing. The problem is the good inside of him is weak, so it can be heard, but ultimately it's rejected. Say you have a guy, let's say, he's an alcoholic, and afterwards he feels miserable. But when the urge to drink again, he can't stop it. But it's not like he doesn't care. He cares, and he feels bad. Because if the good was really powerful, it would have the ability to stop you from doing bad. You touch fire once, you get burned. Afterwards, you don't want to touch the fire again because you remember. So if the good was really powerful enough, it would help you to hold you back from doing that action again. He would confess and abandon his sins. This is why it says, evil people are filled with remorse, because between sins, they feel bad. When you sin, once a rabbi said, says, mitzvahs are a'u, averes are u'ah. No? So when you do a mitzvah many times, you have to struggle for it. You have to work for it. It's sometimes not easy to do the mitzvah, but afterwards, when you do something good, you feel good about yourself because you accomplished something good. Averes are just the opposite. At the time, you feel great, but later you're like, I shouldn't have had that last piece of cheesecake. I really didn't. That last piece of pizza. Yeah, exactly. Right. When you start walking, start waddling, you're like, yeah, I didn't need it. Because the most evil people, most people we consider evil. There's still some good inside of them. So we have many different types of violators of mitzvahs. We have the person who hardly violates, but doesn't repent. He's a Rasha v'tayvli. We have the guy who violates a lot, and he feels regret. He feels regret in between. But these are all Rasha v'tayvli. These are all varying degrees of the Rasha that has good. The question is, how often does the good inside of you come out? Right? How often do you feel like I'm going to be a little different? January 1st? Or Erev Rosh Hashanah? Or Yom Kippur?
Shabbos,
right? You wake up at Shabbos, I'm going to go to shul. Nah, I don't think so.
Hanan Ben Ari in his new album, there's a line. He goes, on Friday night, I feel like Baal Shem Tov. On Saturday night, I feel like Shabtai Tzvi.
There you go. So they said, what's true about it? But these two consciousness exist simultaneously inside of you. So on Shabbos you feel holier because we have, according to Kabbalah, we have a neshama yitera, an extra soul. We feel more spiritual on Shabbos because God assists us and imbues us with extra holiness. On Matzah Shabbos we get the multi-Shabbos spiritual crash. That's why we have the smelling salt.
Really? In the military,
Really?
any samal, any I don't know how to say sergeant that really wants to break in new soldiers on Friday night, because Shabbat's about to come in. Some of their commands are not allowed to be enforced or whatever, especially in commando units. They can't make you do certain things. So their favorite line is the Kol Shabbat Yesh Motzash.
Exactly. Every Shabbat has a Saturday night.
Yeah, just wait until Motzach.
Exactly.
You party about for the next few hours until Motzach, and I'll find you.
When I used to teach, the principal, when the kids would go crazy, they would 10 days left of school, and he would go 85 days till school's. The kids,
you got a sergeant.
The kids hated him.
Yeah.
So, okay, guys, in exactly 80 days you're back in school. Shut up. But so these are all different levels of a Rasha that's good. The question is, how often do you feel like you want to be better? You got to ask yourself the question. All of us give in to impulses we shouldn't. The question is, how miserable do you feel in between? How satisfied are you with yourself? That's not a question you answer out loud. That's a question you got to answer between you and yourself. How dissatisfied are you with yourself? And everybody has to be dissatisfied with themselves. The Friedrich Rebbe writes that a person has to know what they're good at. You also have to know what you need improvement. If you don't think you need any improvement, then you need a lot of improvement. I saw once an interview. I forgot, was it some athlete, Kobe Bryant, Tom? I can't remember what it was. But like a day after he won, or the day after, he was back, back practicing. The day after. That's how much he wanted to improve.
A lot of them do that. Dwayne Wade did it.
Dwayne Wade did what?
After they won with the Heat won, it's like 2 days later he was back in the gym working out for the next season.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying, we all need to improve ourselves. Everybody, and I don't care how amazing you are in your character. Everyone can improve yourself. And if you don't think you can, you have any room for improvement, bad news.
You need even more.
You need a lot, right?
It's funny because I always tell my team at work that if they don't make a sale, we have a conversation about it. I'm like, what could you have done to get them to make the purchase today? Versus them saying they're coming back, which they really never do. There's always a golden unicorn that will come back every so often. And as we speak, I have somebody calling me, but it's just where you just want to make the deal now. You don't want to wait.
So the guy said I didn't do anything wrong, couldn't do anything better than. Actually, I spoke to a guy, Avidan. I don't know if you remember. He's in charge of finance departments in cars, and he says sometimes like the salesman person will come again. They're not going any lower, and that's it. It's not, they're not coming any higher. Sorry, there's nothing we can do. Over. So he says he takes the salesperson off he said because the customer has sold them already. They think that they can't do anything. In their mind, there's no room for improvement. Everyone can room for improvement. Because that impulse comes from the godly side of you, which says you can be better. And depending on how much you exercise your self-impulse muscle, and how much you exercise you do good muscle, that's how strong your impulse for good is going to be. We're going to learn a lot in Tanya. Self-control is a muscle. It's like working out. Right? You know the guy January 1st, go to the gym, all right, you go to the bar, and the next day, why? Well, you spent 364 days not using muscles. All of a sudden now, you discover muscles you never had. Self-control, impulse is a muscle you have to exercise. So it says if you can look at yourself and say, where do I need to improve? You get a lot better. Avol, let's finish up. I mean, the Alter Rebbe is not going to say a lot about the last Rasha. There's not a lot to say about him. I mean, she's a bum. Avol Misha eni mischar loilam, not like you, even worse than you are. So who never feels contrition. If anybody heard teshuva klal, it never has the thoughts of teshuva. Nikar Rasha, he's a Rasha v'raloi, and the bad is to him. He is fully controlled by the Ra. The only thing remaining inside of him is bad. Why? Because the bad overpowers the good to such a point till the good goes away. Now, over here, the good over here doesn't mean it's totally gone. It means it's sort of like hovering. It's not inside. Because the godly soul is always there. But it's not pnimi. When something's pnimi, when something's inside, it can have an impact. When something's makif, when something is hovering, it's distant, then it has less of an impact. So somebody who drives that good out to such an extent where the good is distant, and because it's distant, it doesn't have any influence at all. Therefore, can you have a minion of 10 Rishoyim? Absolute Rishoyim?
Yes.
Why?
Because are they all descendants of that left that was in Mount Sinai?
Yeah, I'm talking about Jews.
Then listen, we're learning it this week. 1 out of the 4 kids is the bad kid, the Rasha.
That's what I'm saying.
So
But
if I take that Rasha
Yeah,
and I
but-
multiply him by 10, am I going to tell of them?
But-
None of you are.
no, but Alter was explaining
worthy.
why. Over here, Alter was explaining.
Did my explanation work? Like, out of the 4 questions, one of them is of the wicked.
Well,
child.
not all 4 questions are in this week's parsha, but yeah.
The wicked child's question
Okay,
is in this
alright.
week's parsha, and he's worthy of being in the minion? So 10 of him
But
is why I'm saying yes.
you're right. I'm asking. You're telling me that it works. And
That's,
you give-
that's the equation.
no. I understand. But the question is, but trying to give you why it works. Hey, but I'm trying to give you why it works, and the reason why it works is because, this goes to when 2 people get married, they're not 2 people that are married. They become a new entity. They become a new entity. That's why they're not a husband and wife are not 2 people; they're 1 person. That's why a husband and wife can do mitzvahs for each other, because like a husband and wife, each have a mitzvah to do Shabbos candles, or Chanukah candles, or whatever the mitzvah is, right? So how come they both don't do it? Because you're 1 person.
Division of labor.
Yeah, exactly. Meaning you become one. When people get married, they cease to be an individual, and now they are a new entity. It's a new entity. When 10 Jews come together, you cease to be 10 individuals.
Super Jew.
Exactly.
By our powers combined.
Exactly. A ring or something, or knights around the round table. I don't know. Right? All for one.
You have to touch the part that's Jewish, the most Jewish part.
Which is?
I'm not going to say it.
I don't trust you. The point is when 10 Jews come together, they cease to, it's not 10 individuals that are coming together and the rabbis say 10 Jews come and 10 individuals come and make a minyan. No. When 10 Jews come together, it's a new entity. It's a congregation. And therefore, we don't look at the individual, this guy's a Rasha, that guy's, no. It's a new entity. That's why we see on page 168, the last line of the chapter, L'chein Amar Razal, therefore the Gemara says, Achal Bei Asara, Shchita Shari. On a gathering of 10 Jews, the Shechina is there. What doesn't make a difference the quality of the Jews. So you can have 9 Moshes, 9 Rebbes, 9 Rabbi Akiva, no minyan.
How come the guy that you said in the Parsha class that was smoking a cigarette in Shabbat is not good for a minyan?
He was good for a minyan.
Oh,
No, that's something like according to halacha. If somebody publicly disgraces the Torah, knows better, you can't count it for me. He's acting like a guy.
For some reason it flashed into
I'm saying, but when 10 Jews are together, the Shekhinah is there. Why? Because it's not. They could be the most miserable Jew, but you can never totally eradicate the good from the Jew. It could be distant. It could be hovering. Could be in a state encompassing where it's not impacting his day-to-day activity, but it's present, and therefore, when these 10 Jews get together, that the quality of that holiness comes out because it's not the individual. That's why, by the way, it's important to daven with the minyan, because when you daven and God accepts your prayer as an individual, and God, give me health, give me money. God says, well, who the heck is this guy? Why should I give him? Did you do everything else I asked you?
You gotta ask for 10 times the amount.
There you go, right? Your kid comes to you and says, Dad, I want a new something. So, you don't deserve it. Get out of here. I'm not giving you a car or a PlayStation. Why should I give it to you? But if they come over to you and say, the family needs, meaning when we petition God, not on the behalf of the individual, but as a unit, so no one's individual imperfections are present, because it's not about the individual. We're not an individual. Right? We're a unit of 10. That's why it's so important to daven with the minyan. That's what it's about. And you can be angry at an individual, but you can't be angry at a group. Because it's 2024, let's get political, right?
I actually learned in Kabbalah that supposed to entreat God at prayer
Yeah.
is not to ask Him something for you. It's to phrase it in a way that makes it about Him. How will they look at you if I don't?
Well, we learned that from Moses.
Yeah.
Yeah, Moshe. But also, by the way, when we
There's
act,
a couple of other examples of.
but
of
in davening,
prophets using that
yeah,
version.
exactly.
Like, come on.
It's not about us; it's about you.
Think
Yeah,
about how
we're
you're
doing
gonna-
you a favor. Yeah,
Right.
but
But
you look at the siddur, you look at the liturgy in the siddur. It's all about we need health and we need. It's not I. There's no I in the Torah. In the davening, there's no I. It's we. It's we. So imagine a guy. You can't hate everybody. You can't hate all the white, all the blacks, all the. I'm saying you can hate the individual. Let's say a guy did something bad for you. He owes you $10, whatever it is. Individuals have problems, but as a group, it's different. Let's finish off the note over here. That is to say, even if they're in the category of Rasha V'Raloi, the Shekhinah still hovers over them. Since the Shekhinah's present is externally encompassing by Makif, not entering the consciousness, therefore it's still present. Now, with regard to after the three dots, regard to the subject, or it's probably squiggly, a subject of a Jew, his animal soul prevails over his divine soul. The following story bears mention. A certain free thinker once asked the Tzemach Tzedek. Tzemach Tzedek was the third Chabad Rebbe, also named Menachem Mendel. He's called the Tzemach Tzedek after a book of halacha he wrote called Tzemach Tzedek. Usually, to differentiate between our Rebbe was Menachem Mendel Schneerson and the Tzemach Tzedek was Menachem Mendel Schneerson. The Tzemach Tzedek they'll call him Menachem Mendel of Lubavitch. That's how people call him. The word
They both have the same name.
Yeah. Not only that, they both married a woman with the same name too, Menachem Mendel Chaim Mushka. Yeah. Well, the Rebbe was named after him. He was a bunch of generations before. He was a Rebbe in the 1828 to like 1850. A certain free thinker once asked the Tzemach Tzedek, the word Yehudim is normally spelled in the book of Esther with one Yud before the final letter. Why is it when the word is used in connection with the harsh decrees against the Jews in the Megillah, when Haman is talking about the Jews, it's two Yuds? Tzemach Tzedek answered, Yud is equivalent to 10. Every letter is equivalent to a number. Aleph is 1, Beis is 2, Yud is 10. It represents the 10 soul powers we learn in chapter 3, 3 intellect, 7 emotional, possessed by both the divine and animal soul. There are Jews who conduct their lives solely according to the dictates of the godly soul. The other Jew it's animal soul, and their conduct is dictated by the animal soul's 10 powers. Haman planned to exterminate all the Jews, even the holy Jews, who dictates by the two Yuds, those who are ruled by the 10 evil powers. I mean, they don't only want to kill the good Jews, they want to kill the bad Jews, they want to kill everybody. But the man persisted. Why is it then spelled several times with the two Yuds even after the decree was repealed? Tzemach Tzedek answered, after suffering under Haman's evil decree and ultimately witnessing God's salvations, even those Jews repented and became equal to the brethren whose lives were led by the dictates of the divine soul and good inclination. Thus concluded Tzemach Tzedek, the two Yuds, Yud or Yid, became equal. So what happened in the story of Purim, that it brought out the level of godliness went from encompassing, because in the story of Purim what happened, they try to become Persian. They try to be Persian and they put God on the side. So the godliness became encompassing. The decree of Haman brought the godliness from distant to inward and expressed. That's why we learn out that if any Jew would have converted in the decree of Purim, Haman, they would have been saved from the decree. Because the decree was against the Jews, Jewish practice. Not one Jew converted. Because it brought that Judaism out. L'chaim, we got to work on bringing our Judaism out, not just leaving it distant. L'chaim.
L'chaim.